It's okay. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and start on this. So, Mr. Jackson, would you like to call the meeting to order?
Yes. Okay, I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is, I believe it is 6:05 PM on Tuesday, September 11th, 2018. First off, also like to call roll.
Here, let me get the roll call.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Alan Jackson Jr.,
Present?
Mr. Reynaldo Ortiz,
Present.
Mr. Albert Lowry,
Present.
Mr. Rolando Perez, and Mr. Chris Haynes,
Present.
and Ms. Teresa Fonseca.
Present.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum?
Thank you very much. I think next item on the agenda is citizen comments. Do we have anybody wishing to make comments before this commission?
We don't have any new business, so therefore no customers were asked to be present in case of any cases. Therefore, we could move on to item 4 for approval of the minutes. And so on the approval of the minutes, I had sent by email the proposed minutes. I also have a copy of them in your binder. Hopefully you guys had a chance to look at them. There were some basic demolition orders that were approved to be done, which have yet to be signed. So my intention was to have them ready for you to sign here at this meeting. I don't have them, so maybe I could get with the chairman later on this week and whenever you have time and sign, but.
Okay.
But
Can I make a motion to approve the minutes? I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for May 9th.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries.
okay, well, then we can move on to item number 5, staff reports. Basically, there are 7 properties I wanted to update the committee on, or the commission. Items 1 and 2, or number 1 and 2, those were already previously voted by this committee to get demolished. They have been. I wanted to provide you pictures. I don't have pictures, but I've been in contact with the owner of 415 Zaragoza, and they're already in the stages of repaying the city the funds. One, San Eugenio, I haven't been able to get a hold of. So that's the status on those 2. They have been demolished. 1406 Willow Street. That, if you recall, that's the porch that was voted. It was only the porch that was voted to get demolished, which is within the right-of-way. It's an old structure. It's falling down. Again, that's one of those that the demo order has not been signed. We will be looking at that. One of the things to look at that is the power pole and the power lines, and they're kind of in the way when we demolish that. 920 Scott, that's the warehouse that burnt down close to the railroad tracks. Again, that's one of those that was already previously voted to get demolished. I do not have the demolition order that is signed. So that's the same, that's the status on that one. That one's in pretty bad shape, and I've been getting a lot of calls on that one. So that is, again, staff that is needing to process. Moving on to the 5th one, 3117 East Fiesta Loop, another burn that's a mobile home that doesn't have any services. It's been vacant for at least a year, and it has been burnt. So we're gonna have an order, in this case, maybe not demolished, maybe just taken out of the property and to eliminate that nuisance on that aspect of the structure. 6 and 7, both also manufactured homes. These is more of a new subdivision. 5201 Frijolillo Drive complied, so it is now vacant. So that one, we don't need a demo order. 5203, it also burnt down, or not down, but severely damaged to where it cannot be fixed. So that also needs a demo order signed. So 3, 4, 5, and 7 need demo orders signed. 6 already being in compliance, we can take it off the list, but at that point, that is what, on the updates on these properties. The only other update I had was to again, formally, present, Ms. Teresa Fonseca on the committee and to maybe go over the, processes of what staff does and what the committee is required or is being asked to, on this committee to do. So unless I have questions on these properties, I'd like to move on to that. Yes,
I have a question. You're saying on several of these that you're waiting for the demo order to be signed. Is it on
That's
somebody's
correct.
desk and no action? Or?
that is really on my desk that I have not done them. That, I'll be honest, I need to prepare them and bring them to Mr. Jackson's, presence. My intent was to bring him here or even have them ready beforehand and, so I just need to do it.
For the record, Roland had just been promoted to right-of-way or utility coordination manager. So he's got duties.
Two hats.
That's right, and that happened 2 months ago.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So that's,
Thank you.
in defense, that's basically what he's been doing. So
Well, yeah, I'm doing, I don't know if you guys know, Mr. Santos Reyes. He recently retired, and so now some of those responsibilities, which were a lot of permitting from TechStop and things like that, that ended up being on my desk now, so. That and the fact that, we missed the July meeting, that those demo orders, I think I already have them ready. I just need to print them out and make sure everything's right. Though, that's what is pending, so it's not on the committee's end.
All
Let's
right.
put it that way. It's on staff and, or more importantly, on me. So with that, I wanted to say what is it that is a substandard and what is, because really there's two major criterias. Is it a substandard or is it a dangerous building? And recently, some of the staff, there's a lot of code enforcement and we went to a training, but basically dangerous is when something can cause harm to either to life, to, to health or to property. So, something as simple as not having, handrails or something when you're going up, or it's down, or things like that, that's dangerous, obviously. Somebody can fall. So, that's different than substandard. So, we could red tag a dangerous situation, but you could barricade that stuff off and they could still have the building. Now, if the building is in a dangerous position, as we saw at 305 or 307 San Bernardo, the one that burned that was kind of leaning, because it was basically 3 sides of brick. The backside was wood, and since it all burnt, there was no backside, so it was that was dangerous. So in that situation, whether it's in the historical or not district, dangerous buildings takes precedent over historical landmarks. So just want to clarify that that's what the ordinance asks for. So there could be 3 types of orders: order to repair, order to board up, or order to demolish, So those are the 3 powers that are giving as per ordinance, chapter 16 of the Code of Ordinances. That's where we get our what is it that we need to do. And basically, it's all on staff. we need to go out there, tag it. We need to go, try to give them a certified mail, notice. Hey, we're considering this substandard. Please go ahead and address this by coming into the office. And most of the time, they can try to, the intention here is for us not to go in and spend money and destroy property, private property. The intention is for make the citizens and owners comply with these nuisances. So, again, we get a permit, work on it, we work with you. They don't wanna do that then, or they don't answer, we don't know if we're not addressing them. Like for instance, on the Willow one, we don't know if the inside is substandard. It's been boarded up. They did board it up because it was been red tagged and they basically secured the structure. Is it substandard on the inside? Well, unless we go in there and do an actual investigation, we're not gonna be able to know. So those are I guess, the hurdles that the staff needs to go through from the inspecting part to officially deem it substandard.
Along
Yes.
those lines, just because if the structure's substandard because is it abandoned or if there's people living in it?
Yes, because if it's abandoned and it's not secure, you could have children go in there, they could have illegal activity to go in there. So the ordinance does clearly specify that you must secure it as a property owner. If not, illegal activity could happen, especially around school areas. This is our main concern. This is already in the ordinance. It may be a perfectly nice, brand-new home, but somebody has been vacant for a couple of years, somebody broke the windows. There's nobody that's guarding it. So even though the structure's new, it's still considered substandard because it's not secure and nobody, if there's been any vagrants or things like that happening, that is considered still a substandard on that premise. Now, even if you don't have water or sewer, even if people are living there, if you don't have water or sewer, if you don't have services, it's substandard conditions. So for the health part. So again, life, health, and what is it? What was it, 3? Life, health, and anyway. Safety, yeah. So those are the 3 criterias that will deem it dangerous or substandard. So, we have to have a hearing. So the first step is tag it. They don't come in, we give them 30 days. We send it a certified mail. They don't come in, then we need to schedule a public hearing after 30 days. So the process, if we were to tag it tomorrow, we gotta give them 30 days after it's been sent. They don't come in, then we need to go to a public hearing, give them time to come in and present their case to this committee. That is their right. At that point, if this committee deems that, you're not trying, or you're not in compliance with the ordinance in this case, then, we can move on. And so then at that point, we would close the hearing and go to, what they're calling here is, where is it? Where am I? After the public hearing, it is, we can close it and make a determination as to what if it's still a nuisance. We close the hearing, and if it is found, it says here is after the close of each hearing before the Building Standards Board, such board shall make the following determinations. This is under the section 1658. That's chapter 16 of the Code of Ordinances and it says whether the structure in question is substandard as defined, or is it found that the structure is substandard and shall further be determined reasonable to be repaired. So basically you have those 3 options. Can you repair it? Can you try to board it up? So if it's in a situation, it's too close to the school, maybe we want to, again, this is all the committees, you guys need to discuss it. We just present. You know, hey, how close is there a school there, you know what? Why don't we just go ahead and have it boarded up right away? We can order it right away to get it boarded up if we're not getting anything. So then if it goes to that, and we still try to give them time to do something about it, it's fine. If that's what the committee wants, then we'll make an order to board up, we'll send it, and we'll have somebody go out there, board it up, contractor and everything. We would have to do a board up order, sign it, put it in the paper, and then if they still don't come and board it up, we give them another 30 days, and at that point, they've had their chance. Then at that point, the city goes out and do it, puts a lien on the property to get that, recuperate those funds back. Again, if it's a demolition order, well, that's what it is, if this committee, that's what they want, we could do that as well. So, before in the past, as you guys, some of you guys were already on this board before I even was part of it, there was no money from the staff to do this. Luckily, right now, with the help of Community Development Director, Mr. Arturo Garcia, and city managers' discretion, along with the Director of Building Department, Mr. Victor Linares, there is push for providing funds from the city with the intent to put a lien and recuperate those funds back. So the steps on the staff side, there is quite a bit after the order's done. We need to send it to city secretaries, have them sign it, send it to the paper, make sure it's posted both in English and in Spanish. I'm sorry, not posted, but published. After that, we need to get with tax office and make sure there's a lien on that property. Once we go out to bids, I have to prepare a bid item, a bid order and all that, get contractors to come in and say, you know, this is what's gonna happen. After that, they do whatever job we hired them to do, we put a lien on it, and then, yeah, we're processing. So on staff side, there's a lot of extra paperwork. You know, hopefully the outcome here is that we're trying to get them, just comply, take care of your property, and try to give them as much time as possible. That being the case, there's some other little, let me see. This is one of the checklists that let me see how I do this. We give this to the inspectors, they just basically fill it out, and this is strictly off of the ordinance, you know, just check it. Yep, it's a nuisance, yes, it's this. So it's a simple thing that they put on their tablet when they go out there. Then they come into the office, print it out, hey, here's the pictures. They prepare the letter, they sign it, send it certified, send me a copy. This has been done, you know. Again, we don't go out and say, we're gonna go to El Cuatro, and we're gonna find out how many are substandard. No, we don't do that. It's really through customers calling in or people calling in with concerns. Hey, this is substandard. So it's not directed. We don't do a task force. We don't do any of that. So it's just a checklist that we have to follow through. As you can
Mind
see,
you, doesn't mean that if somebody calls in, it automatically becomes substantial. We go check it, verify it. If people live in there, we try to work with them, ask them if they're gonna remodel. We have a lot of cases that were deemed substandard and they complied. And so they came to get permits, they fixed it up. And, you know, maybe we could show a list of these homes that were deemed substandard, but they came back and we fixed them up, which is what we want. Either get rid of them or fix them up.
okay, also, I wanted to show like this, which one is it? A and B on the number 3. Any building or any portion thereof that is dilapidated, substandard, unfit for human habitation, and is a hazard to the public safety, welfare, dilapidated structure, unfit for human, you know, basically it's saying, B is saying regardless of the structural condition, unoccupied by its owner, leases, or you know, and it is unsecured from unauthorized entry to the extent that it could be entered or used by, or could be entered, used by children, which is what I was addressing earlier, vagrants, criminals, or uninvited persons into the place of harbor, especially people that they find houses, hey, illegal aliens that wanna use it as a shelter or something. That's another reason why the city has this here to, that's why you wanna secure their properties. So, and sometimes they try to secure them, but after time, people find their ways to try to get in. As we all know, if people wanna get into properties, that's what it is. So, that's why I sent all these to you guys, and I'm just, as Ms. Fonseca's here now, I'm just going over it. There's a lot of them that are burnt, we're finding, and so obviously that we don't need, we'll just go in there and inspect, but then the inspector will put their comments here, and then they'll give me a recommendation. Repair, vacate, board up, or demolish. The inspector will sign it, type his name, give me an address. They print out this with pictures, and then, we present them to you. Well, and you guys could say, no, hombre, ese inspector está loco, no, hombre, it's not substandard. You guys could do that, or you guys could say, man, he's right. Why didn't we catch this before? It's all, you guys have the power to decide that. So that's what I wanted to bring up. So unless you guys have any questions, I know most of you already know this, so I just wanted to bring this up. And I don't know if you guys have any questions. You can always call us go check it out. Though we don't have time, we'll make time. I'll just make it clear.
I don't know that, it's also important to mention that, through CDBG or the community development, we have the Operation Crackdown,
Yeah, I forgot.
which is getting ready for, in May, the next one. We just had one 2 months ago. And so we can start, if these properties, we deemed them as, that there's been what they call nexus, that there's been a police record of vandalism, illegal, drug use, or, any of those.
Any incident reports.
Incident report, at that point, that property can go into this other method of demolishing, and that's Operation Crackdown. And they pay for it, they do all the demolishing. So right now, we got a list of, was it 55 or 155 properties? A long list that we're gonna go out and investigate to find out whether they meet the nexus. They're substandard, and if they meet the nexus.
Right,
If they do, they
but-
go through that route. And we don't have to get in, we get involved because we're the ones that do the substantial. That's another thing that we've been working with in the last 4 months with the Operation Crackdown that happened.
Right.
In Lake.
We had a lot of properties, and Mr. Pinzon brings up a good point. What I was referring to, this is what this committee does, and we have a fund for it. However, there's two other projects, or two other, I guess, processes. One is community development in the CDBG, and then the other one is the Operation Crackdown. Operation Crackdown, there must be illegal activity. And then on the CDBG, as long as it's just substandard, the Operation Crackdown is basically free for the property owner. CDBG is not. They get reimbursed as well. But those are federal funds, and it's a little more complicated for them. But that's not this committee. That is strictly community development and their department to handle it. Now, what he's mentioning is that it can come through this committee. We could say, you know what, maybe this is a good one for community development. In that we can always say, you know what, it came through us, but it was really processed through community development. So those are the three basic processes that the city has. And that, but those are federal funds. The ones we're dealing with here is just strictly local funds from the city. And,
Now, like, I don't know, it must have been a couple of weeks ago or something, I saw in the paper, they had a graphic about, they were talking about stash houses, and where they come in there and they find like 100 people crammed into a 3-bedroom house or something. Now, is that illegal activity, obviously? Does that fall into that area?
Yes.
And they get looked at whether that house is gonna continue to exist or find out?
Well, if the structure is fine on that, usually what happens is if the federal government raids it or whatever, it kind of gets, what is it called, repossessed or something like that, and then, but yeah, but that's through a different, that's not from these three processes. But that's more for, if it's okay, they go ahead and sell it, the government, they put it out for sale and they sell it. You know, but that's,
Substandard,
That-
just happen to have
illegal activity, yeah, yeah. So how do you know if it's vacant, if there's illegal activity? Well, unless people report it. So, in that case, yeah, it can. Now, stash houses are coming up with, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're vacant or nobody's there. It could be just a regular house, people living there that, you know, some illegal activities going on. That's different. So, but this is more focused on trying to get properties that are not, you know, they're not doing their property maintenance. Again, if it's, nobody's done the landscaping, that's not substandard, that may be property maintenance. We send it also to community development for forced cleaning. There's also a lien on that, but that's community development, so. So anyway, I don't know if you have any questions, but yeah, this is specifically certain things only. And it is through this, chapter 16. And as a matter of fact, our legal department wanted to make sure, that's why when you guys read out, property of so-and-so, legal description of so-and-so, as in section, and all these numbers in section, it is specifying exactly all these things. And our legal department want to make sure that it's on record, that it's all these things that is being addressed to the owners. That's why before we weren't saying all that, now we want to make sure that it is being said, so it's on the record that this is what it is. And so, it's also in the notice, so that we thought the notice is fine, we already said everything in the order. No. They don't just want it on the notice, they want it in the public hearing and all that, so. And as we go on with the new cases, that's what we want to do. So at this time, I don't really have anything unless you guys see anything that I may have not touched on.
Just a quick
Yes.
question, how's the workload look for the next meetings? We're gonna, are you
There
getting
is some, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to partner up again with community development because we're trying to start up. We don't want to cause burden on the taxpayers and citizens. We don't. So option one, free, go ahead and talk to community development because you don't want to talk to Roland. Roland's going to charge you. So that's what we try to sell, you know? And then like, okay, nobody, you're not listening? Okay. Then you try to move on in that direction. That's really what we're trying to do. So for next, it's at the end of the year. I don't think we're going to have much, but we have some.
But we're trying to build up the, May one for Operation Crackdown.
Yeah, we're trying to get, in May, Operation Crackdown starts up again. We want to have them get at least 30 properties, because we really don't want to cause taxpayers under, you know, and even though so we'll start on that end first, you know. We'll give them that option. They don't want to move on that, you know, then, you know,
pick up the
they'll
slack?
need to hear out what Roland has to say. Just saying that kiddingly. Of course, I'm just trying to go by the ordinance. I don't want to be on record as I have any power. I do not. I don't have anything else unless you guys want to go specifically on one of these. So then this is another checklist. They were noticed, they were tagged. When was it done? Do I have the information from WebCat? What's the tax account number? One of the things they want us also to do now is to have, what is it called, a warrant of inspection. some process, but that's only if we get a hold of the lot owner, which in rare cases we do. So I need to still sit with with the legal department and seeing how we can go about finding out what it is that, how can we get a hold of these people? Because most of these people are either deceased, and so what are we gonna do? How are we gonna get a hold of them? Well, we don't. Well, who's the next of kin? And so it goes like that, you know, because the property owner is actually deceased. With that in mind, I wanted to note that November 14th is the next meeting day. It may or may not be in the council chambers. It just so happened that today there was meetings. So I'm putting first floor conference room. It'll be, when the next agenda comes out, I'll try to have it ready. I'll try to have the minutes for you from this meeting, at least in time, at least a week before, so you guys can look at it. But basically, there's nothing to, other than we just went over everything. And
And the 14th is a Wednesday.
it's always on the second Wednesday, or is it Wednesday or Tuesday? Oh, did I put that wrong? Let me double check that. I apologize. I
It's a
could,
holiday on Monday, the 12th.
is, it? Okay.
That's why you skip 2 days or something.
You're right, it is a Wednesday, so it would be, I have it down for the 13th. That's a mistypo. I'll need to, I'm glad you pointed that out, Mr. Lowry. It is on the 14th. It's always the second Tuesday of the month. Thank you for pointing that out. You have anything else, Jerry?
No, but I had already scheduled for the 13th.
Oh, you already had it scheduled for 13th, okay. So,
Make a motion to adjourn?
Y'all hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion.
This was an
Meeting
easy
adjourned.
first meeting, by the way.